Hey, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Living in Fort Lauderdale. My name's Rob Zeoli. I'm a real estate agent right down here in South Florida. And if you're looking for a channel that's going to show you what it's like to move to live, to play, and to buy real estate right here in South Florida, and this is definitely the channel for you. So make sure you subscribe to it and tap the notifications down below to be notified anytime I go ahead and put out a new video. I put out weekly videos all about South Florida, but what I love more than anything is to help people just like you with your real estate needs. So if you have any questions at all about real estate here in South Florida, reach out to me 24/7. All my information is down in the description, and I look forward to helping you and make your move here to South Florida a very, very smooth one. And without further ado, let's dive right into today's video. So the first fact is that you do not have to worry about sinkholes here in South Florida. Now, I get this question a lot about sinkholes and if it's something that you have to worry about as far as, where you live and insurance and all those types of things. Now, although there have been sinkholes here in South Florida, it's really not something that's common at all and not something you have to really worry about. Now, the reason is here in South Florida, the cavities in the limestone that these sinkholes form in are way down deep in the earth and not really at the surface when they can be a problem like it is in Central Florida. Now, again, in the middle of the state, sinkholes are an issue around Tampa, especially in Pasco County, Hillsborough County, and Hernando County, which they call Sinkhole Alley. Now, another area that's really making the news lately as far as sinkholes is Ocala. Now, something really going on there recently, and it's kind of an area that was underdeveloped for quite a while, but with all the migration to Florida and a lot of building going on, Ocala is becoming a new hotspot for sinkholes. So again, really here in South Florida, not much to worry about when it comes to sinkholes. Now, another fact about South Florida, and actually the state of Florida in general, is that you're never really that far from the beach. Now, Florida as a whole, as a state, you're never going to be more than 60 miles from a body of water. So if you look at a map of the state of Florida and do a little bit of a measurement, you will see here, I'm going to go right to the middle of the state of Florida and do a little bit of a measurement. So from each side, directly from the middle to the east coast, the Atlantic Ocean, is 63.95 miles. And if you go the other way to the Gulf, you are at 70 miles. And that's even closer when you get down to South Florida. So if I zoom in here on the map, and let's just take West Palm Beach. So the furthest western portion in West Palm Beach would be around Wellington. Now, if I measure from Wellington to the ocean, you'll see here that it's about 16.84 miles from the furthest portion of Wellington to the Atlantic Ocean. And if we come down to Broward County, we're going to go from the furthest portion, which would be right by Weston. And we're going to go from here to the Atlantic Ocean to the beach, and you have 20.58 miles. So again, you're never ever going to be far from the beach. Again, 60 miles in the center of the state of Florida to any body of water, or to each coast. And it's about 20 miles from the beach to the furthest western portion in anywhere in Southeast Florida. So the third fact is South Florida, or Florida in general, is the only place where alligators and crocodiles share the same habitat. Now, although alligators and crocs are often sometimes confused for one another, South Florida is the only place where they share the same habitat. So the Everglades is that habitat where alligators and crocs share. Now, alligators are going to be more inland, and crocs tend to be more on the coast. Now, crocodiles typically are very aggressive, but the ones here in South Florida are not as aggressive, or not anywhere near as aggressive as the ones, the saltwater crocs that are in Australia, and also the real big crocs that are in the Nile crocs that are in Africa. So you don't really have to worry. You don't really see too many crocodiles in Florida. I have never seen one myself unless I go to one of the natural parks. Now, again, alligators is a huge topic from people that are reaching out, thinking of relocating here, and you don't really have to worry about them that often. Just remember, if you're near a body of water, I don't care if it is a puddle, a pond, a canal, a river, just think that there could be an alligator in one of these bodies of water. They are all connected underground, so just keep your eyes open and be very, very careful around any body of water when it comes to your pets. Now, the fourth fact about South Florida is that it is called the Venice of America. So there are about 300 miles of waterways that run through the greater Fort Lauderdale area, and 165 of those happen to be directly in the city of Fort Lauderdale, giving it the nickname the Venice of America. So I had mentioned in a previous video, one of the best ways that you can get a good look and get to know the county, greater Fort Lauderdale, the city of Fort Lauderdale, is to take one of the water taxis. So there's the Pompano taxi, there's one in Fort Lauderdale. And what's really cool about these is that you can pay for an all-day pass and get on and off at many, many different cities up and down the New River Canal, the Intercoastal, and really, really a great way to see the city from, the water and get a look at some of these waterways that are considered the Venice of America. Again, this is really, really cool. You can see Millionaire's Row, which is basically some incredible, incredible real estate, and you could again jump on and off at your leisure, getting something to eat and shopping in some various different towns. Very, very cool, and I definitely recommend you check it out, some of the water taxis here in Fort Lauderdale. So number 5 is South Florida is home to the 3rd largest barrier reef in the entire world and the only natural reef in the United States. Now, they say that the prettiest section of this reef is down in the Keys, down by Key Largo. So coral reefs are an amazing expression of nature. These living reef structures provide shelter, food, and breeding grounds for numerous marine plants and animals. Coral reefs are the basis for a dynamic ecosystem with tremendous biodiversity. Most of Florida's sportfish species, including spiny lobster, snapper, and grouper, spend significant parts of their lives around coral reefs. Now, Florida is the only state in the continental U.S. with an extensive shallow coral reef formations near its coasts. Florida's coral reef stretches over 350 linear miles, going from the Dry Tortugas National Park, which is in Key West, all the way to the St. Lucie Inlet in Martin County. Number 6 is Greater Miami is the only metropolitan area in the country that has 2 national parks. Now, Miami is home to the Everglades National Park and Biscayne National Park. So Biscayne National Park encompasses coral reefs, islands, and shoreline mangrove forests in the northern Florida Keys. Its reefs and islands are accessible only by boat. Dolphins, turtles, and pelicans live in the Biscayne Bay Lagoon. The Underwater Maritime Heritage Trail links dive sites. Most of these are shipwrecks. On Boca Chica Key, Boca Chica Lighthouse has beautiful coastal views, and also a museum at Convoy Point explains the local ecosystems. Now, the Everglades National Park is a 1.5 million acre wetland preserve on the southern tip of Florida. They often compare this to a grassy, slow-moving river. The Everglades is made up of coastal mangroves, sawgrass marshes, and pine flatwoods that are home to hundreds of animal species. Among the abundant wildlife are the endangered leatherback turtle, the Florida panther, the West Indian manatee, and of course the American alligator. And number 7 is South Florida is actually an island. Well, technically, no, they call it a peninsula, but I believe that it is an island. So if you look at the definition of an island, it is a piece of land surrounded by a body of water. Now, if you look at the map here of South Florida, you can clearly see right here where Lake Okeechobee is that there is a body of water that stretches from the Gulf of Mexico, which is on the west side of Florida and South Florida, all the way through into Lake Okeechobee, and then it extends on the other side and comes out and goes to the Atlantic Ocean. So this is basically the Okeechobee Waterway, and again, it extends from the Gulf of Mexico through Lake Okeechobee and goes out to the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm not really sure why this doesn't qualify Florida, or at least South Florida, the South Florida portion of Florida, to be an island. Now, I grew up in New York, and Manhattan is considered an island, and if you've ever been there and ever looked at the Harlem River, it's really just a man-made, it's not much, and that Harlem River is really what makes the island of Manhattan technically an island. Again, so here is the map of Manhattan, and you can see right here, right where there's the number 3, this little spot here is the Harlem River. And again, it is man-made. It was made for drainage and also for as a shipping lane and for transport, so you don't have to go all the way down around through the tip or past the tip by the Battery Park. So that makes Manhattan an island, so I still don't understand why they don't consider South Florida an island. And last but not least, I want to just show you what Wikipedia says about the Okeechobee Waterway. So the Okeechobee Waterway or Okeechobee Canal is a relatively shallow artificial waterway in the United States stretching across Florida from Fort Myers on the west coast to Stewart on the Florida's east coast. The waterway can support tows such as barges or private vessels up to 50 feet long with draws less than 10 feet, so basically 10 feet deep. The system of channels runs through Lake Okeechobee and consists of the Calahoochee River, I hope I said that right, to the west of the lake and the St. Lucie Canal east of the lake. It also says right here in the history portion, it says it was built, furnished in 1937 to provide a water route across Florida, allowing boats to pass east to west across the state rather than traveling the long route around the southern end of the state. So, I don't know, a waterway goes through the state, so you don't have to go around it, means that the South Florida portion is an island. It's surrounded on all sides by water. So let me know what you think about that in the comments. Okay guys, so we're gonna wrap it up right there. 7 facts about South Florida that you might not know about. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something about South Florida, and if you have any questions about moving to South Florida, about any of the areas we talk about in these videos, I'm available 24/7. All my information is down in the description. Again, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Take care.